Good evening and welcome to another special edition of Miami County Monthly News, where our goal is to bring you positive news stories about Peru and Miami County, Indiana. We apologize, but we have several news stories that we have not yet published. Even though they might be a few months late, we still intend to publish them for their positive value. We still intend to publish news stories about the Miami County Ag Day, Mark Olson Rock and Roll Rehab, and the Converse Pressure Fall. However, this special edition is about the antique bar that was relocated from the second floor of the Literary Aid Society to the Riverview Event Center back in October. This bar is approximately 150 years old and is believed to be built on the original building. The German Aid Society, opened in Peru in 1868. Dave Van Balen worked out a deal with the Literary Aid Society to relocate the bar to the Riverview Event Center in order to keep this historical bar in the city of Peru. Here at MCMN, we are fascinated when we do a story involving the history of Miami County. Thank you, Dave, for bringing this to our attention. We would like to thank MCMN videographer, Jim Allison, for getting videos and interviews about the bar and its history, and Scott Ash for providing pictures of the move.
Floor window, Literary Aid at the depot, and we're up here looking about taking out the bar and going to take it down to the event center at the old bowling. Some of the stuff that they've taken out from behind the bar was the original copper sinks and everything, and they even have cork stoppers. So we're talking about definitely antique. Notice the double locks on the door, and if anybody knocked, yeah.
But what I was saying was that my great-grandparents owned a grocery store in Oakdale in the early 1900s. They were here all through the floods, the 1913 flood, all through the floods. For all I know, my great-grandfather may have drank a beer at this bar. He may very well have been someone that stood here. And when you think about the people that have come through this community, all of our ancestors, we don't know that many of them haven't stood at this very same bar and enjoyed this piece of history. That I think that's unique. I think it's something pretty cool that we're going to take forward, you know, because I think so many people that hear about this, read about this, are going to immediately have those thoughts of, you know, did my great-grandparents or great-great-grandparents see this bar in its original state back in the 1800s or early 1900s? I think that's a really cool thing that everybody's going to get to enjoy. That's what excites me the most, is that people are going to get to enjoy this one.
Well, the other story that you told was about where we saw this was a German.
Correct. Historically, and you see some of the paintings on the wall, this society was originally the German Aid Society. And so when this building was built and this organization was formed, it was by the Germans and the German Jews that integrated into America, or all came to America during that mid 1800s to late 1800s is when there was a big influx into America, and a lot of them settled in Peru. A lot of them are our founding fathers of names that people would recognize immediately as being people that created our community. And so this was the German Aid Society. At some point when America went to war with Germany, and I'm not positive if it was in World War I or World War II, but at some point is when they decided that the German Aid Society wasn't politically correct anymore. And so they gathered and had a meeting, and they turned their name into the Literary Aid Society and dropped the German part of that because it wasn't popular anymore. It wasn't politically correct.
But basically, it was to teach the Germans.
Right. The whole purpose of the literary part of it was that the people that came here from Germany wanted to learn how to read, write, and speak English so they could become part of our community. And so that was what they did here primarily, was they made that transition from German immigrants to American citizens. And this organization, from everything I've read, was very, very patriotic. All right, they're very, very pro-American, and so they wanted to be part of our country. They wanted to learn how to speak our language and read and write our language and be part of our culture.
Okay, right. Well, tell the story about how you ended up finding this.
That's a great story. It was about 25 years ago. I was dispatched here as a police officer, and I was dispatched here for a break-in or a burglary at the downstairs at the Literary Aid. Someone had broken in and rummaged through things and taken some things here. While I was here, they said, oh, by the way, he also went upstairs. And I'm like everybody else in this town, I said, I didn't know you had an upstairs. So we opened that door and saw that dusty stairway and footprints going up there. And when we came up, at the time, this wall was pretty much all the way across. And so we entered into this part of the room. And so I was in there collecting my evidence, taking pictures, and happened to come around the corner and saw this incredible bar. And it's in my mind as if it happened yesterday, even though it was about 25 years ago. And I remember then said, do you guys realize this is up there? Yeah, it's upstairs. We don't go up there anymore. And I think everybody forgot about it. When we started the process of building the Riverview Event Center, and I started talking about the fact that our theme there was kind of a retro industrial age theme. We're going to have exposed steel beams and concrete floors. It just occurred to me, I wonder if that bar's still there, and if it's in any kind of condition, and if they would sell it. So I reached out to several members that I have had long-term friendships with, and they said, yeah, it's still there, and we would be interested in talking to you. So we came up last week. We looked, and of course, we were blown away when we came around the corner and saw that it is in the condition it's in. It's still here, it's still intact. And over the weekend, we met with several of the trustees, came to an agreement, and they had been offered large amounts of money to sell this bar. The caveat was it wasn't going to stay in Peru. It was probably going to go to a collector. It was probably going to be somewhere outside of this area. I couldn't offer them that kind of money because it didn't make financial sense for the event center to have that money invested in this bar. But they agreed that the history of it and the idea that it would stay in Peru outweighed the financial gain. And so we came to an agreement on a number that worked for them, and it worked for me to be able to spend the money it's going to take to get it out of here, get it refurbished and placed in our place. And thank God that they appreciate our history as much as I do, and we're willing to do it. And that's how we came to an agreement, and that's how this bar is going to end up down there. But it all stems from stumbling on it 25 years ago, remembering it was here, and making that contact, and here we are.
Okay, fantastic.
And so the only reason this thing has survived in the condition it's in is, number one, nobody knew it was here.
It's great condition.
Because it's got the original beer pools, it's got the original copper sinks. It's in great condition. The other reason is, and I didn't think about this at the time, Peru used to flood on a regular basis. This was the only one that didn't, because it was above the flood line. So all the downtown bars got flooded out, and so their bars all got waterlogged. This one survived because it's above the flood.
Oh my gosh.
So from 41 until now, it's just been sitting here, gathering dust. Today's the day we get it taken apart because it was built in place. It won't go down the stairs. We're going to shoot it out one of these windows, So we have to work with utilities
On
and
that
the
side,
city.
yeah.
We're gonna have to get equipment to get up here to get it, take it down, and it's gonna have to come out in pieces.
Well, I used to be a bartender for years in Indy too, and I'm just like, once you clean that and put a little something on, it's gonna look like a brand new bar.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's got a
No one's
walnut-
gonna believe that
It's
it's
got a
from,
walnut
like,
top.
yeah.
No, and that's, so all of us that appreciate history have fallen in love with it, obviously.
I mean, just tiny little things, but that's normal. It's normal nowadays. Like, I mean, you could say that's built in like 2005 or something. People don't know.
This is where they used to set this big bunch of beer. The beer would run over the grate.
This is a giant frame.
Those are the original boards.
I'm glad I came back here and got to talk to you. Didn't know anything.
Obviously, if you look close in the painting, it says German Age Society, 1868. Like at the water, 1868 was when they established. So I don't know that that painting went on there in 1868, but it was a long time ago. There it is.
I'm gonna have you guys in this big secret story.
How this would work, you'd have a keg here, This would be full of ice. Okay? The keg was warm.
Yeah.
And that beer would travel through the copper tubes. If you look in here, there's coils. That's what would chill the beer.
That was a cooling system?
It's a cooling system of that air.
Wow.
I mean, obviously we have CO2 and refrigerated now. That's how this works. There was no electricity, obviously, when this was made. Or if there was, it wasn't utilized in this purpose. So it is a very, very.
And they didn't have electricity then, and there was no refrigeration. These lights were added later.
Yeah, those.
When this bar was built, there was no electricity up here. And there was no cooling, that's why I said they used ice, like ice bins instead, and they, like the old refrigeration used to be with, the ice man would bring the big block of ice and put it in there, and that's how you cooled it. That's what they did here.
I think we can just raise that thing up, slide our thing underneath it and drop it down. I mean, you're only talking maybe a couple of feet, we're gonna have to raise that thing up.
Yeah, that'll come up.
Did you see how far the span is? It's clear to the other end of that parking lot.
So, we can like schedule a day and a time window, your guys will be available, you'll be able to put.
Yeah.
We're all here at the same time, same place. How long do you think we're talking about?
Couple of hours, I mean, it depends on how many guys we've got to lift it. We'll have it ready to go and set in here. Just get the equipment, slide it out, and